you're going to meet someone that I so admire from her reputation, Dr. Marilyn C. Beck, who is the female president of Calhoun Community College. I went to a community college before I went to a university, and it really prepared me. Then I taught in a community college, and here's a young lady that has done all of the above. But I want you to tell us a little bit about your childhood. You've been in, I know, in Fairfax, Virginia, and some other places, but tell us about your growing up years, Dr. Beck, and how this came about.
Thank you, Dr. Libhart. I grew up in rural South Alabama. Mm-hmm. I was the oldest of 4 children, and we had a small farm, and with 4 children, you know, everybody has to work together.
Absolutely.
Because we all had our chores to do, and we learned a lot just by growing up on a farm. So, my parents were always very supportive. We didn't know how poor we were at that time, thank goodness.
I didn't either, but later I thought we were below the poverty level. But
we had to be, but we didn't know that.
No, we didn't.
Our parents helped us learn to be positive and to, I never heard my parents say you won't go to college, even though my mom was a nurse and my father probably completed the 7th grade maybe. But they encouraged us as children. And so I think as the oldest child, which is kind of typical, I've always been a kind of a competitive person, not in a negative sense, but I competed more with myself and with my brothers and sisters than I would have with children in the neighborhood. I wanted always to do well. I wanted to make good grades in school. My parents never ever had to say, Marilyn, you've got to work harder in math because you made a B. I always worked hard and made good grades. So it was a very supportive home life. I see it more now than I recognized it at the time. But we were kind of a teamwork family because that was just the way to survive. When we planted a garden, everybody planted a garden. We all worked together. When we had other projects to do as a family, we all worked together. We went to a local country school, which, as I look back, was a great blessing because we had small classes. We had great teachers who, that was the center of their lives, was teaching. And all of the families in the neighborhood knew each other. So when you go to school, you better be a good girl because everybody knew each other.
That's
and everybody would report about you. Of course, I never had a problem with that anyway. My brothers may have, but I didn't. So when I was in the 8th grade, we decided that I would go to the city school. And so I graduated from Elba High School. And there I continued to be kind of a competitor, but not in a negative sense. I wanted to make good grades. I wanted to be in the Beta Club, was the primary honor society then. But I also participated in other things like the Future Homemakers of America. I probably wasn't the best student in home ec, in that my sewing didn't always measure up to everybody else's, but I became a pretty good cook. So it was a good program, and I was president of the Future Homemakers. So I had leadership opportunities, and my teachers were always very, very encouraging, as well as the support system that I had at home. So that's my basic really childhood.
Yes. I had 4 brothers, and I was competitive. I could outrun them in the cotton patch almost all the time. But in the field, in the garden, when we were told we all had to help, well, one day I got this bright idea because I was supposed to plant peas down these rows. So I was so hot out there in that Arkansas sun. I dug a hole and I put all the peas in, and I went back in. My mother said, "Oh, you finished early." She was probably watching out the windows. Didn't say any more. About 10 days later, they came up like this. They were so pulled together. So she caught me. She said, "Well, you have heard. Be sure your sins will find you out." And she made me go pan them all over again. So we both had a similar background, but of course I'm the one that did that little terrible trick.
You were a little more creative than I was. I would have probably said,
creative or lazy.
How far apart do I put these seeds? But,
that's right. So you went on then you were now in a city school. Oh boy, that you
graduated from the city school.
What happened next?
I went to Troy State University. I got married right out of high school, 18 years old. But
I had to.
My husband and I both went to school at Troy State University.
I just love what Troy State has done.
It was a great place for me. I was undecided about what I was going to major in college. And so I tried out just about everything for the first 2 years. And luckily I had this very wonderful mathematics professor. And Dr. Collins was his name. And I took a class with him. And I missed a half of a problem in the whole quarter. It was a quarter system then. And so I said, I like that. I can do this well. I really loved that class. And so I was almost, that was the end of my sophomore year because I'd been on a discovery path. So I began to be a math major almost as a junior. So if you do that, then you have to double up on your math classes in order to graduate on time. Well, my husband and I, by that time, had a little girl, so graduating on time was pretty important. He was a little bit ahead of me because I was out a couple of quarters when my daughter was born. But he went on to work, and then I graduated, and then in fact, he worked on his master's and received his master's at Troy State. And then we both went to Auburn University, where I got my master's and doctorate, because Auburn was a wonderful university for me. And at that time, there were a lot of grants for math majors. So that really was helpful because by that time we had 2 children, so we were teaching and going to school as well. In fact, I taught 1 year before I graduated with my bachelor's because math teachers there was such a shortage that I was asked to teach. But we still continued our education. Both of us enjoyed going to school, so as soon as we would finish the spring quarter in high school, we moved to Auburn for the summer and, took the children, so it was a family graduate program, really. So they saw us, and they spent a lot of hours in the library with us. In those days, you had to go to the library to do your research. You couldn't just tune in on the internet and do it. So we spent a lot of hours in the Auburn University Library. But it was worth it all. Worth everything, because we had great professors in the math department. So it was really enjoyable to be able to go to school.
One of the people at Auburn asked me to write an article for them. You may remember Last Word is one of those articles. Well, and the gist of it was it takes all of us, because there were generals, astronauts, Miss America, all of those people that played football, and so many incredible, who started the Cracker Barrel, and so many things. Tim Cook at Apple, and you could go on and on. But it doesn't help just like being president of Calhoun Community College, you got to have these 9,000 plus students here, or it's no use to have a president. So that's what the article was about. It takes all of us. It takes the people running the cameras and all of the things.
It does.
So amazing that that this can be done by all of us. Okay, you're now 2 children and out of Auburn. What's next?
Well, we worked teaching and going to school at the same time. So by the time I got my doctor's degree,
was that in Auburn?
I had a number of years of experience. No, we lived in Tifton, Georgia for a while, and really my first community college teaching was at Abraham Baldwin College in Tifton, Georgia. So
did you have
that's how I started. No, I had my master's. But see, with a master's in
you
math,
could teach at that.
Yes, I taught 1 year at the high school there, and the head of the department judged our math science fair and asked me if I'd like to work at Abraham Baldwin on the same day, and I thought, oh my, that would be a terrific move. I'd never thought that's where I would be. That was not what I was planning to do, but it was a great opportunity.
What do you think you were planning to do?
You know, someone told me many years ago, if you do well where you are, then it will boost you on to where you need to go.
That's right. That's so true.
I was not a person who knew that I'd ever want to be a college president. I knew I wanted to be good at what I was doing. So actually I taught math at the community college level. I became a department head. I became division chair and still continued teaching. And one day the president, I was then back in Alabama at Lurleen Wallace Community College.
That's right.
And my president said, you would be a good dean. And I said to him, well, I'm not sure about that. I enjoy teaching, and I'm not sure I want to spend my time making schedules and those administrative details. And he asked me to try it for a year. I said, okay, well, sure, I'll try anything for a year, almost. So I tried it, and I guess that got hooked on. There are a lot of things deans do other than push paper, so I enjoyed working with my colleagues, and I was dean at the college for 8 years.
At Lurleen?
At Lurleen B. Wallace in Andalusia. And actually I was there, I was dean for 10 years, but I was in several other positions. I was there for 17 years. And then I was being encouraged to look at presidencies. And I was called by a friend that actually used to be the dean at Calhoun, Marshall Smith, Dr. Marshall Smith. And he said, we have a job that you really ought to apply for. And I did, and I got the position in Virginia at Lord Fairfax Community College. And it was just such a great experience. I was president there for 15 years. And that was the first presidency, of course. So 15 years was a long time.
Wasn't that the first time they had a female president?
It was, but there'd only been one other president, the founding president. And he was there for about 18 years, I believe. So I was the second president of the college.
So you went
and the first female president, Virginia. So that was quite an accomplishment. Virginia is a conservative state.
Yes, it is.
So, but it was a wonderful community college system.
How did you transfer from that to DeVry? You were...
Oh, I was on the board at DeVry.
DeVry.
I never worked at DeVry. I was on the board at the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale at one time for about 10 years. And then the
She's
president...
traveling around, I'm telling you.
Yeah, the president of the college in Fort Lauderdale became the president of DeVry.
Oh.
And actually one day I saw him do an ad for DeVry on television. And so I just emailed him. I guessed his email address, which worked. And I emailed him and I said, I just saw your wonderful ad on television. And then the next week he calls and he says, why don't you, we need another board member. Would you be willing to serve on the board? So actually, I did accept it and served on the DeVry University board for a while. But
and where is that? Is that at Fort Lauderdale or where is
no,
it?
DeVry is, they've got campuses all over the country.
Yes.
The board meetings usually were in Chicago.
Oh, in Chicago.
That's one of the major centers for DeVry.
Yes.
But DeVry is it's a proprietary school, but it's a different type of proprietary school.
Yeah.
They have master's degrees in engineering, for instance,
Yes.
which is not all of the proprietary schools have master's or doctorate degrees, but DeVry is recognized.
Is your husband following you around to these different places?
Sometimes he follows, sometimes he doesn't, so it works out. You know, we always were very committed to our children. And by the time I went to Virginia, the children had graduated from high school. So one advantage of having your children when you're young is it gives you more time later. So there are some advantages.
And they're now in other...
My children, one's in Montgomery, Alabama, and one is still living in Andalusia.
All right.
So they're kind of still near home, where they graduated from high school.
Visit them and feel like you're at home.
Oh, sure, sure. We still have a home in Andalusia because that's where the children graduated from college.
So when you came, tell me about your getting to come here. How did that come about?
Okay. Really, when I left Alabama from Lurleen Wallace and went to be president in Virginia, I thought probably that would be my last job, that I would stay in Virginia and until I got ready to retire, never thinking that about the possibility of Calhoun. The college in Virginia grew to be about 6,000 students from 2000 to about 6, between 5 and 6. So we had done well. We had doubled enrollment. We were financially stable, and it was northern Shenandoah Valley. So that's kind of heaven on earth as far as the beauty of the earth is concerned. And it's a valley area. And it was a good area for students because we tended to have jobs there, either there or in nearby Washington, D.C. So, but when this job came open, I knew that Calhoun was the premier college in the state. Because when I worked at LBW years before that, I would call Calhoun for ideas, or the deans here. We would talk about policies and procedures and how you do things and what are the latest innovations you're working on. So we shared ideas. Well, it was almost too good to be true, actually. But I finally decided that maybe that might happen for me. And so I did apply for the position and just was so very, very fortunate to be able to be selected.
Over a decade ago.
So,
that was
over a decade ago. It doesn't seem possible.
Yeah, all of these marvelous people you're teaching, what has been your biggest challenge that you've, with education and with yourself and getting these grants and getting this? I saw where $1.8 million was one of the donations. I don't know.
We've had a very good response to the college. Well, we're in a premier region of the country, not just, and it is certainly the premier region, in my opinion, of the state of Alabama.
I understand you don't take no for an answer, so.
Well, different people talk about that different ways, I'm sure, but
you wanted this to look
persistent.
more like a university than
if you believe in what you're doing, you know, you will go out and ask people for money, or you will write grants, and you will. But the main thing is we have so much talent here at the college that we can do things that we could have never done at LBW with 2,000 students, or when I was there, it was 1,100. And everybody does everything, you know, it's a small team, so you learn a lot at a small college. But in a large college, if you can learn to bring the talents together, you can do amazing things. And we have such talented people.
We're going to actually be showing some of the things that you've accomplished on a videotape that will actually be after you and I finish the conversation. They're going to show that. We're going to show that nationally, in fact globally, about 3 minutes of what Calhoun has done with your leadership.
Great. Well,
we're excited about that.
And that is just because of the team effort and the outstanding talent that we have on campus.
What would you do when you think, we've got to make all of these buildings, we've got to have this beautiful
Well, I wish I could tell you that I had a vision of what the campus would be. But actually, I think your vision develops as you move along.
It does.
And so first, we had a vision of what health sciences could be. And then we moved to math sciences, and we share ideas and thoughts. And so we have emerged much farther.
Who are some of your people that are team members that really all this talent?
Oh my. Janet Martin in our public information office. Alicia Taylor, who is Vice President of Academic and Student Services. We have capable deans such as Bethany Clem in Business Solutions, who's brought that area so far. Terry Bryson, who's done a great deal in fundraising and who is dean at the Huntsville campus. We have deans who work both campuses.
I would love to hear more about your robotics, because that has just caused a nationwide explosion of information and advertisement for Calhoun. And the last couple minutes, can you please tell me how that came about and what's the future? And I know when
I'll tell you how much I remember about it. You know, at the time, and if you were interviewing Janet, she'd say we wrote that proposal at least 10 times. But the Robotics Technology Park was a dream of Governor Riley.
Yes.
And he
But you got it.
He held a kind of a competition again.
But it came here.
Because we competed favorably with the rest of the state. And, you know, it's too about location. I mean, why not have Robotics Technology Park in North Alabama, where we have all of the unmanned vehicles that are used by the military, and we have robots and medicine, and manufacturing is a huge business in North Alabama, and it's becoming more and more robotic operated. The automotive industry throughout the state use robots, so it was just the place for Robotics Technology Park.
And with your guidance,
and it was a team effort. It was very much a team effort. And it was
I know
you
want to know more about it, and you're going to get an opportunity to learn more. So I want you to go to the website and so that you can learn more about the robotics program. I've heard one of the persons in Nashville said, I want to come to Calhoun Community College because they have that robotics program. And so I'm just really proud of you and what you've been able to accomplish. And now our viewers are going to get to see a little bit more about community college, about Calhoun Community College, in this clip that I think that Mr.
West Terrain, who is just really wonderful in creating quality videos.
And I'm going to give you this leadership award that actually Global Women's Summit, which is, we had 377 International Women's Day and 3 years ago. Now this is 103rd anniversary, and we want you to have the leadership award for your leadership here at Calhoun Community College and all of your lifetime. I am so proud of you, Dr. Beck.
Well, I am so honored, Dr. Libhart, to receive this award, and it'll just make me work harder next as a result. So thank you very much.
And we want to thank all of the people that were working together to bring this about, and that you did take time out of your busy schedule to come over and receive this award and to tell us more about you and Calhoun Community College.
I'm very honored.
We want each one of you to know more about the college and more about Dr. Beck. I'm Bonnie Libhart, and bless your heart for watching.
Welcome to Calhoun Community College, Alabama's largest two-year college with almost 12,000 students. Calhoun is located in the heart of the Tennessee Valley. Recognized as one of the most economically stable regions in the country. Our main campus is in Decatur. Our Huntsville campus is located in Cummings Research Park. We're proud of our 22 nationally accredited degree programs. Our students and instructors are our greatest assets. Here are 2 examples of recent TV commercial campaigns that tell the Calhoun story.
The tough economy took Julie's job away. Now she's turning her career right side up, becoming a nurse at Calhoun Community College. And we offer more choices for more students in robotics, biology, pre-engineering, and criminal justice. New careers where they're in demand. Calhoun Community College. Your community, your college, your future.
We have 500 nurses, but we're not a hospital. 600 high-tech industrial technicians, but we're not an aerospace company. We study the latest developments in biotechnology, but we're not a research lab. We're Calhoun Community College, where our graduates are prepared to go straight to work or transfer to a 4-year university. Calhoun Community College. Your community, your college, your future. Register now.
In addition, Calhoun is home to the Alabama Robotic Technology Park, a partnership with Alabama Industrial Development Training, known as AIDT. We recently opened the Alabama Center for Excellence in Clean Energy Technology, funded through a $3.4 million grant from the U.S. Department of Labor. Calhoun is also home to the state's first and only associate degree program in biotechnology, created in partnership with the Hudson Alpha Institute. And Calhoun recently developed a partnership with Athens State University and opened Phase 1 of the new Alabama Center for the Arts, located in downtown Decatur. Stay tuned, construction is expected to start soon on Phase 2 of this development. According to a report from the Alabama Community College System, Calhoun has a substantial economic impact on the local community and the state, topping more than $279 million. We take nothing for granted at Calhoun and continue to work hard each day to earn the community's trust.
Lexus of Huntsville, luxury is seen throughout the dealership. We have earned the Elite of Lexus Award 8 years straight because our staff is committed to giving you the best overall experience. Visit our service department with any questions you may have. Let our sales team show you our newest vehicles in the showroom. And feel free to take a break in our customer lounge. Lexus of Huntsville, where you get much more for less than you might expect, on the corner of University Drive and Providence, Maine in Huntsville.